Welcome. We are discussing our second chapter, Calculus of Scalar Fields. Today we shall start our sixth module, Discussions on Differentiability. While studying limit and continuity of scalar fields, we observed certain things. If we take two scalar fields and consider their limit at a point, then limit of the sum equals sum of limits. Similar things happened in case of product also, and in case of continuity we observed similar things. Now, a natural question is whether in case of differentiability we can find something like this. Let me start with the learning objectives for this module. After studying this module, we shall be able to know that sum of two differentiable scalar fields is also differentiable. Scalar multiple of a differentiable scalar field is also. Product of two differentiable scalar fields is also differentiable. And finally, reciprocal of a differentiable scalar field at a non-vanishing point is differentiable. Let us start this module by recalling the notion of differentiability we discussed in the last module. Let A be a subset of Rn and F is a scalar field defined on the set A. We further assume that F is differentiable at a point A which is an interior point of the set A. Since F is differentiable at A, there exists a linear transformation T from Rn to R such that for all suitable y in Rn, we can express the increment of f, that is f of a plus y minus f a, as T y plus norm y E a y, where norm E a y tends to 0 as y approaches the origin. Usually, we denote this linear transformation T by the notation f dash a. We shall start with discussing some results from linear algebra. We are defining differentiability with the help of linear transformations defined over Rn. So, first of all we have to study some properties of linear transformations. Let V and W be two finite dimensional real vector spaces. That is, we can assume there exist two natural numbers n and m such that V is isomorphic to Rn and W be isomorphic to Rm. Also, let S and T are two linear transformations from V to W. We define a map S plus T from V to W by pointwise principle. Now, for each vector V1 and V2 in V and every real number C, we observe the following. S plus T operated on V1 plus V2 equals with S V1 plus V2 plus T on V1 plus V2. This follows from the definition of S plus T. This equals with S V1 plus S V2 plus T V1 plus T V2. This follows from the linearity property of S and T. So, we change the order of the elements and finally, we get this equals with S plus T operating on V1 plus S plus T operating on V2. In a like manner, S plus T operating on CV1 equals with S operating on CV1 plus T operating on CV1. From both the terms C comes out and finally, we get C times S V1 plus T V1, that is C times S plus T operating on V1. So, the map S plus T from V to W is additive as well as homogeneous. So, this is another linear transformation. Next, let lambda be any real number. We define another map lambda s from V to W, again by pointwise principle. Now, for every pair of vectors V1 and V2 from V and every real number C, we find the following. Lambda s operated on V1 plus V2 equals with lambda times s V1 plus V2. This follows from the definition of lambda s. Now, using linearity of s, we can write this lambda times s V1 plus s V2. So, this equals with lambda s operated on V1 plus lambda s operated on V2. And for every scalar C, lambda s operated on CV1, this equals with lambda times SCV1, this equals lambda times C times SV1, since S is linear. So, finally, we can write this as C times lambda s operating on V1. Thus, the map lambda s from V to W is another linear transformation. Now, we are entering into differentiability. We start with our first result. Let A be a subset of Rn. F and G are two scalar fields defined on the set A. We assume both F and G are differentiable at a point A, which is a interior point of the set A. Our claim is that the scalar field F plus G defined over A by pointwise principle is also differentiable at the point A. Now, we recall that if we want to prove differentiability of a scalar field at a point, the first point is that we should guess the corresponding linear transformation. Now, we are finding the linear transformation for a scalar field. It will become easier if we can find the corresponding map defined over subsets of R. That is, if we think F and G are maps defined over A, where A is a subset of R, then whether A plus G is differentiable or not, and if it is differentiable, what is its derivative. The help is that we can use the corresponding result from single variable calculus, which we already know. Now, since the scalar fields F and G are differentiable at the point A, we can find two linear maps F dash A and G dash A, both from Rn to R, such that for every choice of suitable y in Rn, we can express the increment of f as f of A plus y minus f A, which is f dash A operating on y plus norm y E f A y, and similarly g of A plus y minus g A equal to g dash A operating on y plus norm y E g A y. We recall that we know them by first order Taylor formula for f and g. Here, as y approaches the origin, we must have both the error terms E f A y and E g A y should tend towards 0. We take the help of a new function, say h, whose domain is A, and h is nothing but f plus g defined with the help of pointwise principle. We are to prove the existence of a linear map T from Rn to R such that for any suitable y in Rn, we can express the increment of h, that is h of A plus y minus h A, as T operated on y plus norm y E h A y, where as y approaches the origin, E h A y tends to 0. So, our first work is to find the map T and then to find the error term E h A y. It is clear that both these should depend on f and g. At this point, we recall that if f and g were functions of a single real variable differentiable at a point A in R, then h equal to f plus g is also differentiable at the point. We earlier studied that derivative of sum equals to sum of derivatives, that is h dash A, which is nothing but f plus g dash a is f dash a plus g dash a. In single variable calculus, we know this is a real number, but here we are in search of linear transformation. If we think as f and g are scalar fields, then f dash a is a linear transformation from Rn to R as well as g dash a. So, we guess that in the present case, the linear transformation will be f dash a plus g dash a from Rn to R. Here we recall that just we have studied sum of two linear transformations defined over the same vector space again gives us a scalar field. I am sorry, linear transformation. We find that for each suitable y, h of a plus y minus h a, that is nothing but by the definition of h, a plus g operated on a plus y minus a plus g operated on a. So, it is equal with f of a plus y plus g of a plus y minus f a minus g a. We rewrite the terms where f terms come together and g terms come together, so that we can use the first order Taylor formulae for f and g. So, this equals with f dash a operated on y plus norm y e f a y plus g dash a operated on y plus norm y e g a y. We have to write the sum of these four quantities as a linear transformation operated on y plus norm y error term. So, we take the terms f dash a y and g dash a y first. Then we write norm y multiplied by e f a y plus e g a y. Let this be t y plus norm y e h a y. Clearly, t from Rn to R is a linear transformation, and it is defined by for each x in Rn, Tx is nothing but f dash a plus g dash a operated on x. It is nothing but f dash a operated on x plus g dash a operated on x, and the error term e h a y equals with e f a y plus e g a y. If we look at e h a y, it is sum of two terms which approaches 0 as y goes to origin. So, we find that the scalar field h equal to f plus g is differentiable at the point A, and moreover h dash a, that is the derivative of h at the point A, is nothing but sum of two linear transformations f dash a and g dash a. We are coming to our next result. Let A be a subset of Rn. F is a scalar field defined on the set A, which is also differentiable at a point A, which is an interior point of the set A. Now, for each scalar C in R, the function h equal to Cf is also differentiable at the point A. We first note that if C is 0 or F is constant map, then we have nothing to prove. We start the proof. Since the scalar field f is differentiable at the point A, by definition there exists a linear map f dash a from Rn to R such that for all suitable y in Rn, we can express the increment of f as f of a plus y minus f a equals with f dash a operated on y plus norm y e f a y, where y tends to theta implies e f a y tends to 0. Let me recall that whenever we are saying for all suitable y in Rn, that means y should be such that f of a plus y defined, that is a plus y should be a member of the set A. Now, for the function h equal to Cf, we find that the increment of h, that is h of a plus y minus h a, this is nothing but by definition of h, Cf a plus y minus Cf a. So, this is c times f of a plus y minus c times f a. We take c as a common factor, so that we have the another factor as the increment of f. Now, using the help of differentiability of f at the point A, we write this term as c times f dash a operated on y plus norm y e f a y. So, this is c times f dash a on y plus norm y c multiplied e f a y. Let this be my t y plus norm y e h a y. Here t from R n to R is a linear transformation defined by T x equal to c times f dash a operated on x for each x in R n. We recall that f dash a is a linear transformation, c is a scalar. So, c f dash a is another linear transformation defined over the same domain, that is R n, and e h a y tends to 0 as y tends to theta. C is a finite real number. So, c times e f a y also tends to 0. This shows that the function h equal to c f is differentiable at the point A. We shall denote t equal to h dash a, that is nothing but c f dash a, that is c times f dash a. From this, we have another nice example. If f is differentiable at a point A, then minus f a is also differentiable at the point A, and hence we get if f hat g two scalar fields are differentiable at a point A, then f minus g is also. We have a generalized version of this. Combining the above two results, we have the following. Let A be a subset of R n, f and g two scalar fields defined on A which are differentiable at a point A, which is an interior point of the set A. Then for every pair of real numbers lambda and mu, the scalar field lambda f plus mu g from A to R is also differentiable at the point A. Further, we have lambda f plus mu g dash a is nothing but lambda f dash a plus mu g dash a. Next, we find the following. Now, we come to the case of product. Let A be a subset of R n, f and g are two scalar fields defined on the set A which are differentiable at a point A, which is an interior point of the domains of f and g. Then the scalar field h equal to f g defined with the help of pointwise principle over the set A is also differentiable at the point A. Moreover, f g dash a equal to g a f dash a plus f a g dash a. So, this is nothing but our Leibniz property for differentiable scalar fields. We start the proof. Since the scalar fields f and g are differentiable at the point A, from the definition of differentiability, it is assured that we can find two linear maps f dash a and g dash a both from R n to R such that for all suitable y in R n, we can express their increments as follows. F of a plus y minus f a is nothing but f dash a operated on y plus norm y e f a y, and g of a plus y minus g a, that is nothing but g dash a operated on y plus norm y e g a y. Whereas y approaches the origin, both the error terms e f a y and e g a y tends towards 0. Now, first of all, we have to find the increment of h whenever we go to a plus y. We find that h of a plus y minus h a, by definition of h, it is f g a plus y minus f g a, that is f a plus y g a plus y minus f a g a. Now, we know what is f of a plus y minus f a. So, we know what is f of a plus y. We put these values of f of a plus y and g of a plus y together. each term has 3 components. So, whenever we take the product, we shall get 9 terms, and we also have the term minus FAGA. Let us write this as Ty plus norm y EAy. We know our next task is to find a suitable linear transformation T and the error term EAy. If we recall, the corresponding result in single variable calculus, that is f and g, are two real valued functions of a single real variable, then the derivative of f g at some point a would be f dash a g a plus f a g dash a. Here f dash a, f a, g a, g dash a all were real numbers, but here we need linear transformations. But this hints is enough for us. So, we write T equal to G A f dash A plus G A f dash A. Now, f dash A and G dash A both are linear transformations from Rn to R. Now, for every y in Rn, we write that term, error term EAy equal to E1ay plus E2ay. Actually, these will help our calculations easier. First of all, we take E1ay equal to 1 by norm y f dash ay multiplied by g dash ay, provided y is non-zero. In case y overlaps with origin, we can simply take E1ay as the real 0. So, E2ay will be the other terms. So, that is nothing but fa egay plus f dash ay egay plus ga efay plus g dash ay efay plus norm y efay egay. If I look at the right hand side once again, I have 5 components, in each of which there is at least one error term, and the other terms associated with the error terms, all of them are bounded quantities. So, as y approaches the origin, we must have E2ay tends to 0. Let us now take care of the term E1ay. So, let us consider its modulus. Definitely, modulus of E1ay must be non-negative. So, it was 1 by norm y modulus f dash ay g dash ay. We can write modulus of f dash ay g dash ay as product of two quantities, first one modulus of f dash ay and then g dash ay. Now, we can express each of these with the help of vector derivatives. In case of the first one, we have f dash ay, and for the second one g dash ay. Now, we take the help of some results we deduced earlier. So, we have this quantity equals with 1 by norm y multiplied by sum of m terms yi del f del xi at a multiplied by modulus of sum of yi del g del xi at a. We can write sum of yi del of del xi a and its summation as inner product of nabla f a and y, and similarly the second term as the inner product of nabla g a and y, where nabla f at a is nothing but the vector in Rn whose components are del f del x1 at a up to del f del xn at a. Similarly, nabla g at a is del g del x1 at a up to del g del xn at a. Therefore, modulus of E1ay less or equal to 1 by norm y times norm nabla f a multiplied by norm y multiplied by nabla g a multiplied by norm y. Here we have used Cauchy-Schwarz inequality. That is, if u and v are two vectors, then modulus of inner product of u and v is less or equal to norm u norm v. So, 1 norm y in numerator take care of the norm y in the denominator. So, finally, we are left with norm of nabla Fa multiplied by norm of nabla Ga multiplied by norm y. Now, if we look at the quantities norm of nabla Fa and norm of nabla Ga, they are norm of two vectors whose components are the partial derivatives of f and g at A. So, therefore, these two are bounded quantities. So, whenever y approaches the origin, this quantity should go to 0 as it contains norm y. Thus, we have h dash a, that is f g dash a equals with g a f dash a plus f a g dash a. One point we mention here, if f and g were functions of a single real variable, obviously real valued, then we know that f g dash at a equals with f dash a g a plus f a g dash a. But here we have written in some other form. Here we have written f g dash a equals to g a f dash a plus f a g dash a. The reason is the following. Whenever we take a linear transformation and a scalar multiple of it, we usually write first the scalar, then the linear transformation. That is, if T is the linear transformation and lambda is a scalar, then we denote their composition by lambda T, not T lambda. Now, we are going to enter into the differentiability of scalar fields, where we shall consider the quotient of two functions like things. So, we have to be very careful here, because the calculations involved are going to be more and more complicated, and from that our task is to first to find what is the linear transformation and then what is the corresponding error term. Now, we start our next result. Let A be a subset of Rn. F is a scalar field defined on the set A, which is differentiable at a point A, which is an interior point of the set A. We further assume that f a is different from 0. Our claim is that the function h equal to 1 by f is also differentiable at the point A. That is, for every x in A, h x is nothing but 1 by f x. Let us denote C equal to f a. Now, since f is differentiable at A, we know it is also continuous at A. Since f is continuous at A and f a is distinct from 0, we can find a neighborhood of the point A in which f does not vanish. As a result, the function h equal to reciprocal of f is well defined in some neighborhood of the point A. As the scalar field f is differentiable at the point A, from the definition of differentiability, it follows that there exists a linear transformation f dash a from Rn to R, such that for all suitable y we can express f of a plus y minus f a equal to T y, that is f dash a operated on y, plus norm y E f a y, where as y approaches the origin E f y, the error term tends to 0. Here we have for every suitable y, h of a plus y minus h a equal to 1 of upon f of a plus y minus 1 upon f a. By simplification, it is nothing but the negative of the ratio in which the numerator is the increment of f and the denominator is f of a plus y multiplied by f a. So, we can write this as the negative of T y plus norm y E f a y divided by c times f of a plus y. To make our calculations easier, instead of h of a plus y minus h a, we better find c square h of a plus y minus h a. Now, why this term c square? If we recall, whenever we want to find the derivative of some function f, where f is a real valued function of a single real variable, if at a it is not 0 and differentiable, then derivative of 1 by f at the point a would be minus 1 upon f a square f dash a. So, here c square is nothing but f dash a square. So, that is why we are considering the term c square. Now, c square multiplied by the increment of h, we can express this as minus t y into c by f of a plus y minus c norm y e f a y by f of a plus y. Now, we need this linear transformation t. So, we write c of f of a plus y by 1 plus c by f of a plus y minus 1. So, gradually we have minus t y multiplied by 1 plus f a minus f of a plus y divided by f of a plus y minus c times norm y e f a y divided by f of a plus y. Let us denote this by minus t y plus norm y e a y. Here norm y e a y, after simplification it equals with 1 upon f of a plus y multiplied by t y square plus norm y t y e f a y minus c norm y e f a y. So, if we take the modulus of this quantity, norm y comes out, and obviously norm y modulus of e a y is non-negative. So, it is equals with 1 upon mod f of a plus y times modulus of the sum t y square plus norm y t y e f a y minus c norm y e f a y. Here we apply triangle inequality twice. So, we have this term less or equal to 1 upon modulus of f of a plus y multiplied by the sum mod t y square plus norm y mod t y mod e f a y plus mod c norm y mod e f a y. Now, t y we can write this as f dash a y, which is nothing but the inner product of nabla f a and y. So, mod t y less or equal to norm nabla f a times norm y by Cauchy-Schwarz inequality. We know here nabla f a is the vector in R n whose components are the partial derivatives of f at the point a written in their natural order. As a result, mod of E a y less or equal to 1 by mod of f of a plus y times sum of 3 quantities as we have shown here. Actually, we have cancelled norm y from both the sides. Now, we take the limit of these 3 quantities appeared in this inequality as y approaches origin. The left hand side is 0. So, the limit is 0. If we look at the right hand side, 1 upon f of a plus y, now f is continuous at a. So, f of a plus y approaches f a. So, mod of f a plus y approaches mod c. Norm of nabla f a square times norm y. Norm of nabla f a square is a fixed term and norm y tends to 0 from the right. Mod t y tends to 0 because any linear transformation is continuous and any linear transformation carries null vector to null vector. Mod E f a y is the modulus of error term. So, as y approaches origin it should go to 0. Mod c is a bounded quantity and E f a y approaches 0 as y tends to origin. So, all the terms in the right hand side approaches origin. So, we have its equals with 1 by mod c times 0, that is 0. By sandwich property, we must have limit of y tending to origin mod E f a y should be 0. Thus, as y approaches origin, we must have E f a y tends to 0. Now, let us consider a map T dash from R n to R be defined by t dash y equal to minus 1 upon c square t y for each y in Rn. T is a linear transformation and C is non-zero. So, T dash is nothing but a scalar multiple of a linear transformation by the scalar minus 1 upon C square. So, obviously, T dash from Rn to R is a linear transformation. Also, let EHAY equal to 1 upon C square EAY. Then y approaches origin implies EHAY tends to 0. Thus, we can express the increment of h, that is h of a plus y minus h a as minus 1 upon c square t y plus 1 upon c square norm y E a y, that is t dash y plus norm y E h a y, where t dash is a linear transformation and E h a y tends to 0 as y approaches the origin. Hence, the scalar field H is differentiable at the point A, and in this case the total derivative is t dash, that is minus 1 upon c square t, that is h dash a is nothing but minus 1 upon c square f dash a. Let us put c equal to f a. So, the derivative is minus 1 upon f a square f dash a. Now, combining the previous results, we have the following result. By the previous result, we here consider the result regarding the product and the result regarding the reciprocal. So, let us mention the result. Let A be a subset of Rn. F and G are two scalar fields which are differentiable at a point A, which is an interior point of the set A, where G A is non-zero. Now, obviously, 1 by G is differentiable at the point A. So, the product F multiplied by 1 by G is also differentiable at the point A. So, the scalar field H equal to F by G is also differentiable at the point A. Moreover, H dash A is nothing but F into 1 by G dash A. So, that is, first we apply Leibniz rule. So, it equals with 1 by G A F dash A plus F A 1 by G dash A. Now, let us write the expression for 1 by G dash. So, it equals with 1 by G A F dash A plus F A times negative of G dash A divided by G A square. Clearly, this is properly defined since G A was non-zero by our proposition. On simplification, we find that the linear transformation is given by 1 upon G A square times G A F dash A minus F A G dash A. Thus, we have seen that in case of differentiability also, we have some properties like we had in limit continuity. With this module comes to an end.